Welcome to the Purpose Focused Advisor, a podcast for financial planners, advisors, and RIAs looking to get the most out of yourself and your business. Join Rob Brown and Phil Calandra as they walk you through a journey that will allow you to take action in your business and your life so you can be the best that you can possibly be. Now here are your hosts, Rob and Phil.
Welcome. Time once again for the Purpose-Focused Advisor. Rob Brown here with one of my favorite industry leaders. I have known Duncan MacPherson for a number of years now. In fact, I was trying to remember, Duncan, when we did our first work together. I can remember the recording that we did, but I can't find it. But to many in the industry, Duncan, you are very familiar. You've been around, you've done a lot of great work, coaching, writing, speaking, and your message is just so important for helping advisors discover their purpose and to grow stronger businesses. But one thing I'm not sure I know or remember is, how did you get started? What brought you to this industry and to the point where you've built this great company, Pareto Systems?
Well, thank you very much. Great to be here. Great to see you. And yeah, I've been following you for a long time. You've got a sterling reputation, and always good to talk about this. So yeah, in terms of the origins, totally accidental. I had a different business back in the early 90s, more of a marketing business, and a good chunk of our clients were financial professionals. And I got to know some pretty well and started to notice that they were doing pretty well for themselves. And then a friend said to me, he said, "Hey, look, if you want to make any real money, you should get into the business of money, because that's where it all is." And I thought, okay, that's pretty profound. And I just asked him, "How much do you make?" And he told me, and I just about fell off my chair. And I joked with him. I said, "You make this much money, and it scares me how little you actually know about financial planning." And I was just kidding. But he said something very poignant. He said, there's actually very little correlation between how much somebody knows about financial planning and how successful they'll be. And I said, "Well, you're living proof of that. You're basically a professional golfer. I mean, that's all you do." And he goes, "That's the key." He says, "I'm strong in my technical ability, but I don't stop there. I focus hard on being consistent in how I conduct myself. And I have a really solid bedside manner. I have great relationships, and I nurture those relationships." And that's where it really opened up to me, Rob, that the most enlightened financial advisor places as much importance on practice management and relationship management as they do on asset management. So for them, it's not a book of business, it's an actual business, and they're panoramic in what they focus on. So that's where it started back in the early to mid 90s. And it just took on a life of its own. And it's the proverbial 30-year overnight success story.
And you're still at it. So obviously you love what you do. Your team has expanded. I've gotten to meet a few of your folks over the years. They enjoy being part of your team and spreading that message. So what continues to drive you? Is it the fact that this is just an ever evolving business? So those things that you learned in telling that advisor he played too much golf just morphed into just more and more stories and lessons and ways that you see this coming about? Or is there something else that drives you today?
Well, like you, I really love what I do. It more often than not does not feel like work. I learn as much from our clients as they ever learn from us. So I'm perpetually crowdsourcing insights and innovations. And frankly, like even today, I spoke to an advisor that I've known for 30 years. And to see his progression and evolution, and to know that I might have played a small part in that. I mean, he is a pillar of the community, a family man, very well-rounded, very successful. But candidly, I had a mentor who way back when said to me, focus more on who you become than how much you earn. And, admittedly, when I first heard that, I mean, like, okay, that sounds reasonable. You get a little older, a little more experience, you start to realize that that is actually very important. And I'm not trivializing income and the measurable, but there are certain things that are meaningful, and who you become as a person, who you surround yourself with, that contributes to purpose and fulfillment, as you know, because I know you see the world the same way.
Right. Yeah. It's funny. As you were saying that, what dawned on me is that the meaningful leads to the measurable. Because, and we oftentimes start with the measurable first because we want to look at those numbers. It's a numbers business. But when we start with the meaningful, that allows us to begin measuring things that really matter, which also translates into these great enterprises that advisors are building today.
Well, that's well said. And candidly, I never really thought about it that way. But what that prompts me to consider is just the whole dynamic of cause and effect. Good activity, sound activity will eventually lead to productivity if it's, again, purposeful. And you just have to be at peace with the gap between cause and effect. You don't know exactly when it's going to click, but if you like what you do, it will come.
Absolutely. And I think you would agree with me as you watch the trajectory of the careers or the businesses that advisors run. There's always steady growth, but there's steady growth, and then all of a sudden there's just this out of what seems like an out of sync breakthrough, a plateau or a level that just kind of raises the curve, the level of the curve, and then the curve keeps going, and then it pops up again. And I've never quite been able to figure out what that is, but I can usually see that it's going to come when I'm watching how an advisor or an advisor's team is going about serving the clients that they have decided to bring into their practice.
Well, yes. I mean, the pursuit of the inflection point where everything just seems to fall into place and really break open. It's sometimes hard to figure out exactly how it comes together. Patience, discipline, and all these other qualities, moral compass, of course. But what amazes me about the true professional who's grounded, rooted in stewardship, and then they start to realize the magnitude of their impact, how many hats they wear, especially in the last few years, how clients have really started to open up to their financial advisor about what keeps them up at night. And these things contribute to fulfillment, but also fee worthiness and referability. And that's experiential. It takes time to get there. I mean, there's some things you cannot learn in a simulator. You have to be on the ground interacting with people. But you look at what comes out of that, the longevity of a relationship. And then, I say this all the time, like I know financial advisors who have fourth generation clients. They are up and down and all over the family tree. And I remind them, I say, who else in business gets to say that? Think about all the other sectors in the marketplace. How many other business professionals can say, I've got fourth generation clients? It's very rare. but that is such a huge compliment and massive responsibility. And these are the advisors who are just mindful of plateau avoidance. They just keep working on themselves personally and professionally, keep working on their business, and they're indispensable to their clients. It's powerful.
Yeah, very powerful. So I want to maybe steal a trick from your tool bag. I want you to tell me how the conversation goes with an advisor who's having success. Maybe you've known them for a while and they come to you and say, Duncan, I have hit a plateau. I can't figure out for the life of me how to get to that next level. How do you get that conversation going? How do you get them thinking about strategies or action items they can take to break through that plateau?
Okay, so solid question. And I wish I had some time to actually think through the answer, but what immediately jumps through to mind is I was very fortunate a long time ago to be exposed to a thought leader by the name of Jim Rohn. And he coined a phrase, a philosophy, where he said, when the why is clear, the how pretty much falls into place, takes care of itself.
Right.
And we've all heard of the variations on the why. That's typically what we do when we work with an advisor. Most of the advisors we work with are referred to us or come to us because they've been watching us, consuming our content, whatever the case may be. And the first thing I do, not like an advisor who meets with a prospective client for the first time, it's not a sales encounter, it's a fit process. Are we aligned? And I'll generally try to find out where the advisor is on the spectrum between contentment and ambition. So I talked to an advisory team today. I don't remember their AUM, but their revenue is about 1.6. Good little business. I mean, they're chugging along nicely. But the lead said, I want to be at 2.5. And I said, yeah, and the 0 to 1.6 is hard. 1.6 to 2.5, less hard. There's less friction there. But let's break this down. Why is that so important to you? Really revealing in terms of what comes out of that, especially when some of their team members are on the call as well. And many issues are 2 or 3 questions deep. Like you have to sort of draw it out. And I often say, like, let's just take a moment to savor your success. Like, I'm sure every now and again you must pinch yourself that you've arrived at the place you are today. Let's embrace that. Let's appreciate what you've got. And now let's aspire to what you want. Let's talk about 1.6 to 2.5. And then it just opens up a conversation, and they basically put it on the table. This is why it's important to me. And it's generally not solely around, I want to be at the chairman's council meeting in Bermuda next year or whatever. I mean, that's all great. Recognition's huge, but often all roads lead to, how does this benefit your team? How does this benefit for your family? How does this benefit your clients? And then we get into it, and then we just tie in a plan, the how, that's synced to the why. Right. And find that sweet spot between contentment and ambition, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Oh, it makes perfect sense. And I think that's why although we may approach things somewhat differently in our practices, what we are helping our clients do is aligned, because we both see that why. And I, in a way, my question was a trick question, because if any of the audience members who are listening to this have heard Phil and I talk about this on the podcast over and over again, the idea of really dreaming big and understanding why you're doing what you're doing before you put that plan together, because the rest is just numbers, and it's just, but if the numbers represent something that's really important to you, that's going to carry things.
Well, if I could just add to that, because, you're as in tune with this as anybody, that the lifeblood of growth, especially in that context of 1.6 to 2.5, is in advocacy, right? Introductions from existing clients, introductions from strategic partners, and even the concept of why associated to referrals. Like advisors ask me all the time, how do I get more referrals? And I say, well, are you referable? And they always pause, and it's like, well, yeah. Some are offended. I'd even ask the question. But I say, okay, if you're referable, why aren't you getting the quality and quantity of introductions you feel you should be getting? Most common response, because I don't ask for them. I don't go there. I don't want to look needy. I don't beg. I don't pitch the idea of a referral as me trying to grow my business. And I always say perfect. Perfect, because you don't need to ask for referrals. To your point, be referable, but then really understand the why of advocacy. Like, if you're my financial advisor, I'm your client, and I'm in a referable moment with a friend, my friend goes off on a rant talking about how he's so disenchanted with his current advisor. He ghosted me and, all this other stuff. In my inside voice, I'm not going to step in and refer my friend to you because I'm trying to help you grow your business. I need to be at the point where I appreciate your value to such a degree, and I feel I'm doing my friend a disservice by not making the introduction. That's the fuel. I trust you. I understand the unmet need of my friend. I see how that aligns. I make the introduction. I don't tell my friend, oh yeah, call Rob. He's a great guy. And then leave it at a fleeting endorsement. I take action on behalf of my friend. I call you up and say, Rob, listen, you got to do me a favor. You got to talk to my friend. I've known him forever. He's a great guy. He's freaked out right now because he's getting ready to sell his business. He thinks his current advisor's in way over his head. I sang your praises. I explained your process. He's ready. He wants to talk to you. When everybody can get their heads around that episode, that scenario, that's the why of advocacy, something magical happens. And
Yeah.
you've seen it.
Yeah, no, I see it. I see it over and over again. And, one of my greatest pet peeves when I'm reading, the newsletters and magazines and things that advisors get is, the article that comes out almost every year, referrals are dead, and it's like, no, 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 no. Just go ask a high performing advisor where he or she gets the majority of their new business and their best new business. And it is, I don't know, 90% of the time, they're going to say through some form of introduction from happy, satisfied clients or other professionals who really understand what I do and we have strategically partnered. And then you don't need to worry about your Facebook scroll with the latest ad for, I'll get you 25 appointments next week, which what advisor, maybe if the big team, could even handle 25 appointments next week?
With strangers, with suspects, right? It's so funny. And I'm sure you're in the same boat where I just love to demystify for people that this isn't actually all that complex. Like, I know advisors who the fish jump in the boat. Like, they get so many high quality introductions. And if you were to put them on the spot and say, how do you do it? They'll say, well, it's pretty simple. Whenever I'm talking to a client and they ask me how I'm doing, I tell a story about another client that I helped and the degree of fulfillment it had for me and the degree of impact it had on the client. And often I'll describe a scenario of where a client called me asking if I would speak to a friend. So think about this, okay, Rob? you're my client. I'm your financial advisor. We're having a good chat about life and kids and dogs and hockey and all kinds of great stuff. And you say, oh, wow, you sound like you're really upbeat and energetic. And I say, Rob, I got to tell you, we're on cloud nine right now because a couple of days ago, one of our favorite clients called us up and just asked us if we'd speak to his sister, who was going through something pretty heavy, actually. And I said, of course. And I met with her and I could tell she was carrying a pretty heavy load of anxiety and uncertainty. And we just walked her through it. And I could see her apprehension melt away right in front of me. And I just thought to myself, I love what I do. So I'm not asking for you for a referral. I'm just telling a story. Facts tell, stories sell, right? We all know that mantra.
Right.
But it's just something that's relatable. And it's not a tactic. Yeah, I'm trying to make sure my clients don't forget that, we're trying to grow our business here, but I just position it differently. I know a financial advisor. If you were to ask him right now, how do you get so many referrals? He constantly imprints with clients and strategic partners. We only accept new clients that are introduced to us. Like he's activated a degree of professional scarcity that says basically, I do not chase. I'm not trying to go out and convince people. I work with people who are already convinced. And if somebody wants to work with us, it's got to be a good fit. Like it's so compelling, but so simple. So anyway, just thought I'd toss that in.
Yeah, no, I think that's terrific. I have a number of clients that I work with who are in referral only businesses. That's the only way they bring in clients. And by having the confidence to say that and put that out there over and over again, you create that scarcity that you mentioned.
Well, and
But
here's the key, Rob. Like you can't be your own best kept secret. Like many advisors, they're like an iceberg. Their clients know what they know and know what they see, but there's so much more there. So just demystify it. Be the open kitchen. Like in a restaurant that's so proud of what they do, the kitchen's wide open. They show it off. That mindset advisors should adopt too, where they're so proud of what they do. They're so grateful. They're so purposeful. And then just tell stories that people can relate to. Be the open kitchen. And it activates a sense of belonging. That's at the core of Maslow's hierarchy, especially now with so much noise and weirdness in the world. People want to know where their safe harbor is. And the more I feel like I'm in good hands, the more I feel compelled to share that with the right people.
yeah, that is so awesome. I'm really glad that our conversation went this way because that strength that comes from understanding your purpose, turning that into stories, being genuine, really caring, um, matters. And there are tools and tactics that you can use to help you with that. But at the heart of it, you have to really feel that the work that you are doing is extraordinarily important to the people that you serve, and then the people that they come in touch with in their lives because they have families they're taking care of, they have friends and colleagues who may come to them for help, and you are there at the center of that, to solve a lot of problems and be a source of transformation, in the lives of others. And that's the power of being a financial advisor, a good
Whoa.
financial
Yeah.
advisor.
And it is like Jim Bowen at First Trust calls it the noble profession, right? A financial advisor is a guardian of wealth that was created. It's not too many advisors who have clients that won the lottery. Like it was earned through discipline, perseverance, playing the long game, all of that. And it's just really, really key to just keep that perspective and proportion in mind, and just never take that for granted.
Yeah. And we all can take ourselves, and that happens as coaches too. We can take what we do for granted, and then, um, it just creates that awful feeling in you when you realize that you're doing it, that you've let that person down. You want to go back and undo it or fix it.
I've never experienced that, so
Oh, you actually, you did have me. You did have me there. I was thinking that I finally found the most perfect coach in the world. He's never, he's never let
No,
somebody down.
but to your point, that, we get into our own sort of echo chamber, and sometimes we do take things for granted. And a wise man said, "You'll see it when you believe it." Right? Play on the words. You'll see it when you believe it. If you believe you're worthy of the fee, of the engagement, of the empowerment, of the advocacy, if you believe that and you work hard at that, then you'll see it. But of course, you've got to articulate it. I mean, financial professionals do a lot of talking, so they do have to communicate this. But the distinction is, don't pitch it. Don't try to sell something. Your value's bought, not sold. Let them buy into the concept of empowerment. Let them buy into a relationship with your people and your practice and your process. Let them buy into the concept of advocacy. I mean, Rob, if you're my advisor and I'm your client, it's easy for me to refer someone to you. The problem is it's just easier not to. I mean, unless and until I know how it's going to reflect on me, and unless and until I know how you're going to conduct yourself, and that my friend's going to come running back to me saying, "Unbelievable, you were right. I didn't even know an advisor like that existed." Unless and until I'm at that point of conviction and clarity, I might hold back a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. There's this aura, I think it is, that an advisor who gets it has, that comes out in everything that they do. I know when I go into offices of advisors and you even see their teams and how their teams are interacting with each other, there's just an aura of professionalism, of care, of warmth, of depth, and that can't help but carry over to the client or to other strategic partners who may be exposed to that. So Duncan, let's begin to land the plane here as we're kind of winding down this conversation. I feel like there's probably something on your mind that I'd love to pull out that's like a top of mind thought that you are sharing as you're giving talks or coaching these days, that you think is really important to elevate to a top level discussion point to help advisors continue to be their best and bring out the best in others.
Well, yeah. And in the spirit of just pattern recognition, one of the most common conversations I'm having with pretty significant financial professionals is directional and where it's all going. Like, in the spirit of, we all know the precept of beginning with the end in mind. Like not making this the Rob show, the Duncan show, like depersonalizing a business for continuity and succession, the ability to scale up, the ability to just achieve more professional contrast. This is what I'm saying to advisors today, and this is landing, this is resonating. As I'll say, look, you are a fee-for-service professional. You think for a living. You're not selling things. You're promoting the promise of the future. That's abstract. It used to be that to achieve success in this space, you needed knowledge and expertise, right? So designations, credentials, expertise around depth and breadth of solutions, bench strength, mileage. There was a time that was enough. Now it's a minimum requirement. The next frontier is for the advisors that are understanding pure reputational equity, thought leadership, and intellectual property. So as a fee-for-service professional, we're asking advisors, and we have a process designed to get everything out of their heads, to get it organized, professionalized, standardized, optimized in a playbook so that everybody follows the process and the way. Nobody's left to their own devices to wing it. As we bring on more people, this is how we do it. This is how we onboard a new client. This is how we service a client. That to me is profound. And now, of course, we have advisors that are making the pivot from B2C, organic, to B2B, scalable. They're acquiring businesses. They're attracting advisors to adopt and draft in behind the process. And then, of course, there's the impact all of that has on enterprise value. You know, making the most out of someone's life's work, that liquidity event is colossal because nothing resides solely in anyone's heads. If what you know resides in your head, it's a skill, it's knowledge, it's expertise, it's important. The moment it's out of your head and documented, digitized, and even the balance between vapor and paper, digital and documentation, now it's a thing. Now it's an intellectual property. And that IP leads to the next IP, which is inflection point, the breakthrough, where this accretive sum is so much bigger than the parts. It's just because it's so unique, it's so rare, it's proprietary, it's valuable. So, Rob, that is something that's very common that we're working on with our clients. And to see what that does, like it's what that is important, but what it does in terms of liberation and order to the advisor and just all of these other collateral benefits, that's very, very fulfilling. So I hope that answers the question, but that's something that we're spending a lot of time on.
Oh, it absolutely answers the question, because I can't remember a time in the industry where the conversation around, intellectual property, uh, what am I really building here? Is it just a practice that, I can go out and sell to the highest bidder because that firm XYZ has the best recruiting deals going on right now, to creating your own enterprise that has value, that's independent of who's writing the biggest checks today. It's based on how you're able to really build an enduring firm and a business and a team and a business that can run perhaps even without you. And whether you're thinking about retiring or selling. So that's just so important today. And it's a difficult conversation for advisors to get their arms around. And I'm even surprised at some big practices who will say, you'll say to them, well, what are your succession plans? And the answer becomes, well, I'll know about a year or two before I'm ready to sell or retire, that I'm ready. And that's when I'll start thinking about it. And that's too late. I'm sure you agree with that, Duncan.
Well, the conundrum, I mean, it's incredible to me, and we see it, I get it. These lifelong planners kick their own can down the road. And I get it. They're busy, they're immersed, and there is also a sense of like, I'll get to it later because maybe I don't really want to get to it. Just want to keep doing what I'm doing, and that's fine. But yeah, it's such a powerful force to begin with the end in mind. Every business is built to be sold. And when somebody has that as part of the why, and then they have a blueprint and a methodical progression for getting there, it's not uncommon. I'm sure you've seen this too, where an advisor has come to us saying, I'm out in 3 years. And we go through an exercise of depersonalizing, because we believe that you're truly successful the day you've made yourself obsolete. I mean, unless and until your business can roll like a Swiss watch without you being there, you don't have it built out yet. But it's very common that the exercise of that 3 years for somebody to get prepared to exit is so rejuvenational that they say, you know what, I love what I do again because I'm not bogged down firefighting, dealing with minutia. I'm actually doing what I love to do. I've got a team built out, and there's order, there's consistency. I'm taking more time off. I'm more productive than ever. And next thing you know, they say, you know what, I think I'm going to stick around because I've got this work optional lifestyle. I think I'm going to stick around for 5 years and simultaneously really live and enjoy my life. That's a pretty powerful sweet spot that
It, it,
comes
re-
out of all of this.
it really is. And because that is, I know one of the challenges that I face sometimes in working with advisors is helping them see what they can really get rid of in terms of the things that they need to do on a day-to-day basis. And it's it's kind of fun when you go through the process that you just described. They're depersonalizing. I love that. Their business, and for the first time now, what they think is going to be the end of their career, they're starting to realize, oh, I probably could have gotten rid of some of those other headaches, that minutia, a long time ago, and would have been able to really enjoy the business even more. And anyway, it's a great. I think your story there is great. So Duncan,
Well, and I use, sorry to cut you off there, but
no,
I
no, it's
often use the parallel of a maturing athlete who maybe gets injured and now they're at a fork in the road as they're going through their rehab. They're like, do I retire? Do I hang them up, or do I have anything left? And because they're so motivated, they're thinking about retirement. They're a little bit paranoid. They're maybe not quite ready for that. They work so hard on themselves through the rehab that they come out of it restored. They actually can come out of it. It's like I don't know if you're familiar with the Japanese art of kintsugi.
I'm not.
Kintsugi, yeah, you are. Okay. It is. I own a couple of pieces. It's pretty cool. It's taking broken pottery and repairing it with glue and gold, and it's beautiful. But the finished product's actually worth more than the original. And I see so many examples of kintsugi in life, whether it's in sports, whether it's in business, or a variety of professions, where somebody was tested, and it was so revealing that something cool came out of it. There was a massive silver lining that came out of that. So symbolically, that's interesting, but also, again, back to the point about fulfillment. It's very, very gratifying to see.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Duncan, let's end it there. But I do want you to tell the audience the best way to get in touch with you if they have an interest in learning more about what you and your team do at Pareto.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. And the easiest thing to do is just to see us on LinkedIn. Just look for me, Duncan MacPherson. I should pop right up. And, we're connected, obviously, you and I, Rob, and we're both pretty active there. And we're always shining a light on our clients and showing what it is that we're doing in those interactions. I guess another one would be that's our newest book, The Blue Square Method. You could go to the bluesquaremethod.com. You can download the table of contents. You can download a sample chapter just to get a sense for what we're talking about in terms of the mindset and best practices of top fee-for-service professionals. And then that will open other doors if you're interested in pursuing it further. But yeah, I appreciate your giving me the opportunity.
Perfect. I know probably some people are wondering, well, why on earth, Rob, would you have another coach on your show who could take a client from you? And I think, Duncan, you and I also agree on this. There are a lot of advisors out there who need the work that we do, but we aren't perfect for all of them. And so I think by spreading the word, introducing to other good professionals, that in the end, everybody is served better. And that's one of the biggest purposes behind the work that I do.
Well, and exactly. And I subscribe to the whole concept of co-opetition. I mean, yeah, we're in the same space, but I came into this call saying, I bet you if nobody else listens, I'll get something from the call. And I did. I got to know you a little bit better and how you see the world. But there's also a stage of readiness. Like it would not shock me if you've onboarded a client at a stage in their life where they were ready to deal with you and they had already gone through our process years ago. So it's complementary as long as the philosophies are in sync, the strategies and the best practices, those can be added on. But we do have a similar philosophy. It's in sync, it's aligned. So yeah, I just love talking about this. So yeah, well said.
It is. It is. So, Duncan, thanks again for being on the podcast. To the listeners, I want to remind you, as always, we are rooting for your success, and we will see you next week.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of The Purpose Focused Advisor. If you want to learn more, head over to our website, truestfancoaching.com. There you'll learn all about becoming a purpose-focused advisor. You'll also find today's show notes and links to the other gifts and resources we talked about during the episode. Again, thanks for listening, and remember, we're rooting for your success.